On any given night in the United States, about 400,000 adults are homeless. Right now, about 48,000 of those homeless people are veterans. About 2/3 of those veterans are sleeping in a shelter tonight, and about 1/3 are sleeping in conditions considered unfit for human habitation, such as under a bridge, in an abandoned building, or in a public park. In North Carolina, we have about 1,100 homeless veterans, or about 2% of the national population. Homelessness is defined as a lack of fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. Simple enough, right? Living in a homeless shelter defines homelessness. Living in a public place defines homelessness. Living in any place that is not designed for human habitation defines homelessness. Now here's a new definition. Chronic homelessness is defined as being continuously homeless for at least 1 year, or having a disabling condition with at least 4 episodes of homelessness in the past 3 years. Finally, a third definition. Housing first is a new way of thinking about housing for the homeless. The old way of arranging housing for homeless people was to require strict adherence to specific rules, usually about sobriety, before they could be considered for homeless housing. The housing first approach starts with housing and is accompanied by immediate access to services such as substance use treatment. The research shows that a housing first approach actually works better for a homeless person and for the system paying for their housing and health care than the old way. Here is the proud reality. Veterans make up 10% of the U.S. population. That means you can't walk down a street in America without literally bumping into someone who has served in our armed forces. However, veterans make up 11% of the nation's homeless population. How can we have such a high number of veterans in this situation? Well, the answer turns out to be pretty complex. There are at least 4 causes that contribute to veteran homelessness. Number 1, lack of affordable housing and unemployment. Veterans may have a mismatch between their job skills and their earning potential versus what jobs are available in their area and housing costs in their area. Number 2, medical disability. Service in the military can be brutal on the body and leave veterans with permanent limitations in their ability to do physical work. Number 3, mental disability. As we've talked about in several of these videos, about 15% of veterans are experiencing PTSD symptoms right now, and a greater number have additional problems such as traumatic brain injury, major depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and substance use disorders. Number 4, lack of family support. Some families are better than others at understanding the seen and unseen wounds of war. For some families, they have a hard time understanding how to help their veterans, and they may not be in a position to provide the support that the veteran needs at the time that they need it. Let's talk a bit more about the demographics of veteran homelessness. Most veteran homelessness occurs in urban areas. Most homeless veterans are white men, but around 40% of homeless veterans are minorities from the African American and Latino ethnic groups. That means that minority veterans make up about 3 times more of the homeless veteran population than they do the overall veteran population. Also, the era of combat that is most commonly found among homeless veterans is the Vietnam era. So homeless veterans, in general, are older than homeless civilians. Homeless veterans are actually better educated on average than homeless civilians. So let's put this all together. This would be the most common homeless veteran that would overlap all of these categories we've learned about. A white man in his 60s who served in Vietnam and now lives on an urban city street with a physical or mental disability and limited family support. Does this person sound familiar to you? Something that our healthcare system is not really prepared for are the increasing medical needs of our aging homeless veterans. If they're in their 60s now, they're going to need more and more healthcare as they get older. Without safe housing or family support, where are they going to turn to when they can no longer care for themselves? While the vast majority of homeless veterans are men, there are substantial risks for women. Women veterans are more likely to end up homeless than female civilians. Women veterans are more likely to end up homeless than male veterans. But since there are fewer women veterans, we won't see the absolute numbers to get to the size of the male homeless veteran population. So what can a veteran expect in terms of support from the VA for their homelessness? The VA has two large programs aimed at reducing veteran homelessness: HUD VASH and Grant Per Diem. Let's look at each of those. The HUD VASH program stands for Housing and Urban Development VA Supportive Housing. That program offers supportive housing vouchers that veterans can use to obtain apartments that accept them. The Grant Per Diem program directly funds community agencies that provide housing. These programs have helped reduce the number of homeless veterans to about 50,000 as compared to the approximately 75,000 veterans who were homeless in 2009. The VA itself does not run homeless shelters. They do have a limited number of domiciliary beds for homeless veterans. The interaction between the VA and community partners who serve the homeless is one of the best examples of public-private partnerships in the VA system. The HUD VASH and Grant Per Diem programs would not exist if there were not community partners interested in working with the federal government for this worthy cause. Why not learn about the specific community partners in your territory, those that participate in these two programs? Great examples from Western North Carolina are the Veterans Restoration Quarters, or VRQ, and the Steadfast House for women with families. Some might argue that the real solution to ending veteran homelessness is better employment. For those who are not disabled, there are certainly strengths to this argument, and even for some of those who are disabled, they might be able to work in a part-time or reduced load capacity. While there are several community and state programs designed to help the unemployed find jobs, the VA offers two programs of its own. The first one is Compensated Work Therapy, or CWT. Now that includes a few different components: incentive therapy, transitional work, and supported employment. It may include other programs as well, depending on the size and complexity of the VA facility. The CWT program is geared towards veterans who have severe mental illness or physical impairment. Within CWT, we talked about incentive therapy. So incentive therapy is a pre-employment program that provides a work experience in a highly supervised setting. There's also transitional work. Now that's a program that's another pre-employment work program that's time limited, but it is designed to replicate the work that would be available outside a structured setting. Individuals gain experience in the transitional work program that can be used elsewhere when the program is complete. And the last one in CWT is supported employment, and that's available to veterans who have significant barriers finding work in the private sector due to serious mental or physical disability. The other VA program regarding employment is vocational rehabilitation. The vocational rehab counselors work with veterans individually and sometimes coordinate with state agencies or other local resources to assist veterans with job training, job searches, and resumes. When you encounter a veteran who comes into the office for a specific issue, it may be difficult to tell just by looking at them that they have unsafe housing or lack housing completely. Many veterans pride themselves on self-reliance to the point that they will not reveal a housing crisis unless they're asked directly. If you approach the question in a neutral fashion, it can open doors to a problem the veteran may have been unwilling to talk about. You could say something along the lines of, "Hey, tell me where you're staying these days. Any chance that your living situation is not going to work out for you?" One resource you can use for family members or veterans themselves is the National Call Center for Homeless Veterans. By the way, if you are talking to a family member of a homeless veteran, it's fine to involve them in the discussion. The number for the National Call Center is 1-877-4AID-VET or 1-877-424-3838. Please understand that this hotline is different from the National Crisis Line for Suicide Prevention. Of course, that number is 1-800-273-TALK. The National Call Center for Homeless Veterans is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is available to anyone, including veteran service officers, as a resource.